Well, I've got to do this reading here in the magnificent realm of the mighty Hermaeus Mora, the god of knowledge and fate. Here I find a book that I have not come across before called The Old Ways by Solaris the Lore Master. We know the old ways are well aware of the existence of a spiritual world invisible to the unenlightened. Just as one living in a kingdom but unaware of the political machinations underneath may see a new tax or battle preparation as the caprices of fortune, many observe floods, famines, and madness with helpless incomprehension. This is deplorable. As the great Kulian Darnizhan moaned, the power of ignorance can shatter ebony like glass. What, after all, is the origin of these spiritual forces that move the invisible strings of Mundus? Any neophyte RTM knows that these spirits are our ancestors, and that while living, they too were bewildered by the spirits of their ancestors, and so on back to the original Arachai. The Daedra and gods to whom the common people turn are known as the spirits of superior men and women whose power and passion granted them great influence in the afterworld. Certainly, this is our truth and our religion. But how does it help us in our sacred duty? What? But how does it help us in our sacred duty of Siliferncy, or providing grave and faithful counsel to lesser men? I don't know what that just meant. What is Siliferncy? Alright, moving on. Primarily, it is easy to grasp the necessity of both endowing good men with great power and making powerful men good. Don't we need that right now? We recognize the multiple threats that a strong tyrant represents. Breeds cruelty, which feeds the Daedra Boethia, and hatred, which feeds the Daedra Vermina. If he should die having performed a particularly malevolent act, he may go to rule in oblivion. And worst of all, he inspires other villains to thirst after power, other rulers to embrace villainy. Knowing this, we have developed patience in our dealings with such despots. They should be crippled, humiliated, impoverished, and imprisoned. Other councillors may advocate assassination or warfare, which, aside from its spiritual insignificance, is expensive and likely to inflict as much pain on innocents as the brutish dictator. No. We are intelligence gatherers, dignified diplomats, not revolutionaries. How, then, are our councillors faithful? We are faithful only to the old ways. It is essential always to remember the spiritual world while keeping our eyes open on the physical one. Performing the rites of Moawita on the 2nd of Hearthfire and the Vigilth on the 1st of Second Seed are essential means of empowering salutary spirits and debilitating unclean ones. How then are we at once faithful to those who we counsel and to the Isle of the Artium? Perhaps the sage Taherith. Perhaps the sage Taherite said it best. In Mundus, conflict and disparity are what bring change, and change is the most sacred of the 11 forces. Change is the force without focus or origin. It is the duty of the disciplined Sage, which means enlightened one, I am so told in square brackets and quotations, to dilute change where it brings greed, gluttony, sloth, ignorance, prejudice, cruelty. Here, Taharite lists the rest of the 111 prodigalities. and to encourage change where it brings excellence, beauty, happiness, and enlightenment. Okay, I need to read that again. I feel like this is really valid in my own life here. It is the duty of the disciplined Psijic to dilute change wherever it brings greed, gluttony, sloth, and ignorance, prejudice, cruelty, and to encourage change when it brings excellence, beauty, happiness, and enlightenment. As such, the faithful counsel has but one master, his mind. If the man the Psijic counsels acts wickedly and brings Orgithnia bad change, and will otherwise be not cancelled, it is the Psijic's duty to counterbalance the Oegnithur by any means necessary. Emphasis mine. What a weird amalgam of words. A student of the old ways may indeed ally himself to a lord, but it is a risky relationship. It cannot be stressed enough that choice be wisely made. Should the Lord refuse wise counsel and order the Psijic to use the Tarante's outmoded word to perform an act contrary to the teachers of the old ways, there are a few available options. The Psijic may obey, albeit unwillingly, and fall prey to the dark forces against which he has devoted his life. The Psijic may abandon his lord, which will bring shame on him and the Isle of Artaeum, and so may never be allowed home again. Or the Psijic may simply kill himself. On one hand, I'm reading this book. On the other hand, what I'm understanding is that these Psijics are here to encourage change. And if the change is bad, they dilute it. And if the change is good, they go ahead and encourage it. We find ourselves quite often in a position, perhaps to make a change we wanted and make a deal with someone or something or even ourselves, whereas we begin to go against what we know is good. And I have to say, its last phrase here is extremely important. And it is why we don't make risky decisions for our morality, our ethics, and our spirit. Because if we go with that bad thing we have done, we go against who we are trying to be. If we go ahead and say, oh, screw it, I don't care, I'll just, whatever happens, happens, then we are shameful. And in its last sentence here, you just go ahead and kill yourself. And although that sounds really mean, the truth is, there are situations in which there's no way out that's pleasant, and one can remove oneself from the equation in order to make things happen the way they should. Normally, you know when going in that a bad decision can be so bad that you cannot finish. You can't cross the finishing line and save your mortal self. And so, as it says here, remove yourself from the situation. It's a lesson here. Bad things always lead to bad things. Always. Anyway. Thank you for this philosophical venting.